All right, guys, welcome to Chat with Brewer Live. My name is Seth. We're actually sitting here live at Wooden Legs Brewing Company in Brookings, but we've got a very important guest here. Everybody in the pub is going to have a chance to try some of his beer. Let me be the first to say welcome back to Brookings. Luke, how you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks.
All right, so you're with Take 16 now. Now, I want to hear the story, and I know everybody here online is going to want to hear it too. Tell me a little bit about the brewing company you're with now. We're going to try some of the beers. I think we've got at least 3 or 4 here. Take it away. I know you're in Laverne. What else do we need to know about Take 16?
Yeah, we're in Laverne. The name of the company comes from the highway, the old highway that ran right in front of the brewery right now. It's Old Highway 16. We have some old pictures that actually still have the Take 16 or the Highway 16 road signs, which is really cool. So they just wanted, a local name and bring sort of what Laverne has to offer and expand on that. And they did that by creating a brewery. We're a investor-based company, so we have 80 plus investors, and then we have a board, and that's kind of how we operate. And they a couple of years ago, they called me, and I've just been slowly working with them, and then officially hired about 8 months ago to brew beer for them.
Excellent. And then when did the beers come out then?
We started distributing the beers in Laverne middle of December of last year.
So we're a couple months in. We're going to try some beers here first. Let's take a look at this. I think this is the Kolsch, right? Is the first
Kolsch,
one?
Country Mile Kolsch.
Country Mile Kolsch. Brilliant in color. Now, I'm going to drink a little bit of here. Why don't you go ahead and describe what we're going to be tasting here?
Yeah, so as far as style guidelines go, it's a cousin to a Pilsner. It's very light in color, crisp, refreshing, slightly bitter, but still has a little bit of malt sweetness in it. The interesting thing about the yeast that we use for the Kolsch, and this is also characteristic for a Kolsch too, gives it almost like a grape or a pear, slightly fruity aroma and flavor. This one I brewed specifically regionally for Laverne because I thought would sell the best for Laverne, and it is our best seller in Laverne so far. So
very good beer. You said there's a little bit of the nuance of the yeast. Where did you source the yeast for this?
It's originally a Y yeast.
Okay.
Just the Kolsch yeast. I get all my yeast grown by Union Labs in Sioux Falls.
Excellent. I think we're going to actually have them on this show here in a couple weeks. We got a couple people coming in. Don't worry, guys. We'll keep pouring beers. You're just late on such a beautiful day. That's all right. We'll keep pouring you some beers. We're trying the Kolsch first. This is now. Tell me a little about the fermentation, because people that have had this will notice it's a very, very clear beer, and not only in clarity but also in taste.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the fermentation style to really bring out those characters.
To get it clear, it's funny you mentioned that. To get it clear is very, very difficult. I have to lager it for quite a while, and add some fining agents to get it clear. Now, we don't filter any of our beers, so I don't like filtering, but I like clear beer, so that's kind of a contradicting there. As far as the fermentation goes, you can ferment it warmer than a lager, but you can still get kind of some characteristics. You want to, with the Kolsch yeast, you kind of want to, it's sort of one of those hybrid beers where it's not quite a lager and it's not quite an ale, so it's kind of right in the middle there.
Excellent beer. I like this one. I will probably keep drinking that, but I think we've got at least 3 more to go to, so we probably shouldn't get too deep into that one. Tell me next. Maybe tell me about this one next. This is the wheat beer, right?
Yep, this is our Hayloft Hefeweizen. Yeah, Bavarian style Hefeweizen, higher gravity than traditionally. So it comes in at 5.7% alcohol. I like it. I like to do that because it makes the yeast work a little harder, and I think it brings out more of the banana, a little bit more of the clove. So in the aroma, you get a lot more of that than a very traditional one. We use over 50% wheat, red wheat malt, which is also traditional, and ferment it actually quite cool. We ferment it around 62 to 64 degrees, which I know a lot of home brewers ferment Hefeweizen yeast warmer, but I just like the way cooler temperatures helps the yeast.
Very good, very good. And it still has some of that haze that you can come to expect from the wheat beers.
Yep.
It has a little bit of spice, but you're right. It's subtle and it's good. It's not. It's some of those hefts get a little heavy-handed.
They're almost too phenolic.
Yeah, that one is well fermented. Yeah. Now, how does this one compare in sales to the other one? I think they both would be pretty well received in the Laverne area.
Hayloft, it's sort of hit and miss. Any Hefeweizen that I've ever found, when you talk to people, they either love them or hate them. There's no kind of in between. And so in Laverne, our sales for our Hefeweizen haven't been that great. But Sioux Falls, it comes in at number 2.
So let's talk a little bit more about that distribution. You said Laverne, of course, and we've got your beers here in Brookings and Sioux Falls. Where else can people find people find your beers?
Jackson, Worthington, Madison. I know we have some beer at the Pub House out there, and that place is awesome too. If you've ever been out there, all throughout Sioux Falls, we're on 40 plus places in Sioux Falls, including Denny Sanford Center, JL Beers, Tap House 41. Just to name a few. As far as other towns, our distribution is still young. We're hoping to push into Iowa, hopefully within a couple months, but that's sort of still up in the air. So
when you talk distribution, are we just in kegs right now? Is there a bottling line set up? How can people get their hands on your beers?
Just draft for right now. We're working on completing our bottling system. We bought it used, and rebuilding a used bottling system just takes a lot of time. So when I'm busy brewing beer, it's hard to work on the bottling system. But
I would imagine there's a lot of hand bottling going on then.
Yeah, you could say that. We actually do growler sales Thursday nights. We do. I think it's a record amount of growler sales. We do anywhere from 80 to 100 fills in a night. Thursday nights 4 to 7. Well, now 4 to 8 for the summer months. So.
What else? Now you don't have a full tap room there. That's just for growlers, or what else would people expect to find in Laverne there?
Every second, we don't have a tap room right now. That's another thing we need to complete. We have an area that's going to be the tap room, but it's not completed yet. But every second Thursday of the month, from May to September, we're doing these cruise-ins. So people can bring their hot rods or nice cars or whatever, and we're going to be selling beer and selling food. We're going to have a liquor license, and people can come out, enjoy the nice weather, and drink some beer.
Excellent. And for those that don't, Laverne is just east of Sioux Falls. What do you get? Half an hour?
Yeah, 30 minutes. Yep.
30 minutes? All righty, we're going to try some more here. I'm going to keep these to the side. We'll probably get back into those later. What are we going to try here? Now, here's the two different ones. These are the ones actually made their way up in a growler today.
Yeah, we have our Kick the Can IPA, which is sort of a maltier version of a IPA. I wanted to make something that wasn't as intensely bitter, had a nice hop flavor, but didn't have that long-lasting harsh bitterness. So when we try this one, and I dry hop it quite a bit. So when you smell it, I get a lot of like orange marmalade, a little bit of citrus, a little bit of melon, then there's a little bit of maltiness in there from the couple of different specialty malts that I use.
I see you have the customary Minnesota
Yep.
seal on it that I can never seem to do with one hand here.
Break a seal you can't break, yeah.
Alrighty here, and now this one's available on. We happen to have this version in our growler, but this is available at accounts, right, as well on draft.
Yep. All 4 of our beers are available at accounts. Yep. Thank you.
The long pauses between your tease people at home, it lets them run to the fridge to grab a drink if they will. Again, excellent clarity in these. What was the hop variety you said again?
Cascade, Centennial, and Chinook.
Very good. Has that kind of that lasting bitterness. Wow. I'll have to let that warm up a bit and continue to drink through it. But that is a very good IPA. Has a good bitterness. It doesn't hurt though. Sometimes people get a little carried away on those and they become palate wreckers and that you only want to drink about 2 sips of it and then you want to give away the rest of the growler. This does not. This is a very well-rounded, very pleasant, very deliberate IPA. So the pros to that.
Thank you. Cheers.
Very, very good.
And the speaking of the bitterness, the water, our Laverne water isn't exactly the greatest drinking water in the world. It's very, very hard, and it's very, very high in alkaline. So when we first were brewing there, I had to adjust the water a lot more than I'm used to. For instance, I boil, heat up the my strike water to close to boiling. It's like 200 degrees the day before.
Okay.
And that drops out a lot of calcium carbonate, calcium bicarbonate. That gets rid of some of the hardness, and then I counteract the alkalinity with we have a little bit of a calcium addition, and then some lactic acid and then some acidulated malt.
So that gets your chemistry closer to what you want.
Because if you get your pH too high, as you know, in your boil kettle, your hops are gonna the bitterness of your hops are gonna be super harsh.
So tell us a little bit about the size of this brewery. I know I've seen pictures online. I haven't made my way down to Laverne yet. How big a brew house do you have there? What do you guys shoot? What are you guys going to shoot for production this year?
It's a 15-barrel brew house, and and we have 3 30-barrel fermenters and 1 30-barrel bright tank. So I brew one day, pitch the yeast for a 15-barrel batch, and it doubles by the next day, and then I just brew on top of it.
Now, excellent. Now, how many people are brewing down there, Luke? Is it you?
Just myself.
Me, myself, and I type of thing right now?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, we appreciate you making the time to come up here. I suppose you had a busy day today, ramping up into the summer season here.
Well, I did a ramping up a couple weeks ago, so I'm actually pretty caught up right now. So
just waiting for stuff to ferment out now.
Yeah.
Awesome. We've got one last beer. This one looks to be of the my flavor. This is the Stormy Jack Stout. So I'll let you look. You're better at this. Look at that. You're a seasoned vet. Here I messed with trying to take them off, and you just there you go, like a champ. Let me grab another tasting glass. Tell us a little about the Stormy Jack.
Stormy Jack is our Irish dry stout. When I formulated this beer, I wanted it to be a little extra roasty, a little extra stout, I guess you'd say, but I wanted it to be still a lower ABV beer. So this beer comes in at 4.8%. But it's one of the darkest beers I think probably we'll ever brew. It's it's pitch black. The head is dark tan.
All right, let's pour it. So 4.8 as a stout. You're a man after my own heart here. I think I really like those stouts that kind of stay in the nice and easily sessionable range. We'll see how much I can pour out on the counter here, doing this one-handed. There we go. Now, how has the reception been for such a dark-colored, dark stout beer in the Laverne there?
Actually, surprisingly well. It almost tastes more like coffee than it does beer. So people who don't like drinking beer like drinking it. So we've had a lot of women that come in and say, I don't like beer, but I like the stout, which is, kind of a weird thing, I think. We usually tend to stay away from the darker beers, but not anymore.
We've noticed that too. That we get a lot of patrons in that may. Maybe a BBV, beer by volume drinker, and they'll say, well, I don't want to try this or the other thing. And we've had more people gravitate towards the stouts than the IPAs or even the pale ales. Like it may be the coffee thing. I think it's the coffee and chocolate is easy to make easy to do. Did you have any? Is there any sugar in this? Any lactose sugar? Or is this all all malt?
That's just all malt. About 13% roasted barley, which is quite a bit.
That's a heavy hand, but that's cool.
A little bit, yeah. But like I said, I wanted to make it roasty. About probably 6.5% brown malt, and then some flaked barley and pale malt.
Wow, very good. And you're right. We'll see if the camera can catch it. Comes out. They probably won't even be able to see the color online.
Yeah, when I'm vorlofting, which recircling it through the mash, I like to shine a flashlight through the beer or through the wort to make sure that it's getting clear. I can hardly see through this when it's
just to make sure it's clear. Well, you have an SDSU connection here now. I know you graduated SDSU with food science. Well, it was dairy?
Yep.
All right. So since you're the first SDSU grad I've had on, why don't you tell everybody online here just kind of what you learned there and what you took with you there as now the head brewer down in Laverne.
Yeah, I took a lot. So dairy manufacturing, basically the production of dairy products, not milking side, but the production of side. So we did all the students did internships. So I worked at several different cheese factories and huge equipment, and so I learned a lot about using equipment, using chemicals, safety protocols, all that stuff. And then in classes, we talked about all the concepts, all kinds of proteins, enzymes, you name it, and took some microbiology classes, which helps out a lot. If you know quite a bit about microbiology, I mean, that just makes your life so much simpler when it comes to brewing.
Well, this week is actually finals week at SDSU, so there you go, guys. This is applied microbiology, so those finals do matter. Tell me a little bit about trends. I know you guys are just over the border there, but it's always interesting to see which communities are, kind of what you see people drinking. Where do you think craft beer's going in your area? Where do you think Laverne's heading?
It's a good question. I think it's going to stick around the lighter beers for quite a while. IPAs, there are a lot of people that like our IPA. But as far as venturing out too much farther than that right now, I think it's going to kind of stay that way. Within a couple years, though, I think give them time. We'll get them turned around. They try a couple new beers and.
So what do you think? What do you think about the sour movement? I know there's a number of people out there that just love and demand the sour, and I suppose as a microbiology guy, you at least appreciate the sours.
Yeah. I love brewing sour beer. I love drinking sour beer. I love the nuance of sour beer. I know a lot of traditional sour beer is wild and uncontrolled, but I'm being a microbiology background, I want to separate them out and grow them individually and then pitch them back in and do all that stuff. So I'm actually working on a strain of Brett that I got from some bottle dregs that I made a beer with. I isolated it. I'm probably going to brew a test batch of that this week sometime, and we'll see where it goes. It'll be several years before we come out commercially with a sour beer, I imagine, but you never know.
Well, why not? We can play with it on the weekends, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, learning how to make regular beer, any kind of regular beer, non-sour beer, takes not as much time nearly as sour beer, because I mean the turnaround time, a month on a beer rather than a couple years on sour beer. So if I want to make sour beers in 2 years, I better start learning how to do it, right?
So if we're 2 years out on a sour beer, what's the next future batches? Do you got some sale? And these are available year-round. The 4 we've had are available year-round. Have we missed anything that's available year-round? This is all of them. All right.
We have 4 beers. They're all available year-round. We're going to come out with a nut brown in the fall. And then I'd like to do an Imperial IPA with some new varieties of hops that bring some fun stuff to the table. Tropical fruit, almost like Starburst and Jolly Rancher flavors. It's pretty cool.
So you have an investor team here. Do you have a number of guys that are willing to come in and sit down and try these new beers? How does the R&D process go?
Well, a couple of them are really big craft beer drinkers, and a couple of them never really drank craft beer until they started working with the company. So, but for the most part, I mean, they all really enjoy the beers, and it makes board meetings a lot easier when you have a couple pictures of beer sitting at the table. So
that's probably universally true, even outside of the craft beer industry. So we've tried the 4 that we get that are commercially available. We've tried the Stout, the Kolsch, the wheat beer, the IPA. Help me again with the names on that. The Stout is the Stormy Jack, Kick the Can, what was that? Sorry, Hayloft, and then the Kolsch, right?
Country
Mile. All right. We'll get them all checked in here on Tapped here actually pretty soon as well, so people can follow along that way. But I think there's a third growler, for the astute viewer that's viewing online. There seems to be a third growler here. There it is. This is the one that has a half growler, the growlette, that hasn't been opened here yet. What is this one? I'm going to grab some tasting glasses.
So this beer is a sour beer. Part of it is, well, by now probably 2.5 years old. Part of it's another third is about 2 years. And then the last third is about 1 year old altogether. I picked some wild cherries and some mulberries some sour wild cherries and mulberries out in Madison, Wisconsin, at my mother-in-law's place, and I just kind of added it to a beer, a blend of sour beers that I've been. One was a Flanders Red with Roselaire. One was a lambic with the Wyeast lambic blend. Then the third was that beer that I made with all those dregs. And the first 2 with the commercial blends weren't very sour, but the last one was practically battery acid. So I had a
Warheads.
Yeah, it was too sour you couldn't drink it just straight. and I love sour stuff. So I had to blend it back, and then I aged it on that fruit. So.
All right, so we're gonna try this one. For those of you watching at home, there's no way you can possibly try this unless you know Luke and beg him to bring it to a bottle meeting. But we are gonna
super dark.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to hold this up to the camera. That's like a pomegranate color.
Yeah,
I hope the HD camera can pick it up. You can see my fingernails. There it is. Can you see it, Toby? You can see Luke in the background. Look at that. There's an Instagram shot for you. For those of you on Instagram, I'm shameless. You can follow us at Wooden Legs Brew. That's right. The internet was invented just for that. That we found success in why the internet was invented. All right, we're gonna have to try this one. The color is the color itself would make me pick this beer out of any others. This is a fantastic.
It's too bad the nice pink head doesn't stay, but as sour beers, the head usually dissipates. But it's quite tannic and really kind of dry, tart.
That's really good. There's I'm gonna have to drink through it a couple times, but there's almost a
like a spice.
There's a spice, and I keep going after like a meat. It doesn't have the vegetable taste, but it almost has like that meaty, it's just a fullness to it when you do that. Very good spice, very good flavor. I'm just gonna keep drinking. You talked about, I'll keep drinking it. You know what it's supposed to taste like. I'll see if I can discover.
Yeah, well, I'd like to brew stuff like this eventually. I'd like to get some oak barrels and stuff, and for those of you at home that can't try it, kind of imagine a tart red wine with a little bit of mulberries and cherries.
And the interesting thing is, as it crosses your palate here, it continues to taste as that warms up on the back of your tongue. Like it has kind of that initial sharpness, like just kind of that sour. But as it continues to warm up, as you finish the drink, there, it becomes a sweetness. That is a really cool drink. You guys aren't going to be able to try any of this. I'm not going to let you. There you go. Just so you know, you can't. Okay, I'll let these guys try some. Does this one have a name, or is this just Luke's private reserve batch one?
Since these were made in Sioux Falls, I have I named kind of all my sour beers that I brewed in Sioux Falls at Sioux something. So this one is Sioux Sang, which is French for blood, I guess, just because the color. It looks like blood to me. So.
There you go. It almost has a red communion wine. Is what it reminds me of. It's kind of this red tint of this communion wine. So let's know a little bit more about Take 16 and the social media. I've seen you guys on Facebook before. How else can people follow and kind of keep up where your beers are at and what you're brewing?
We have a Twitter account and our website. You can email me at luke@take16beer.com. I'll answer any of your questions, or if anyone wants to tour or come hang out. If you're a home brewer and you want to brew some beer, just shoot me an email and I'll show you around.
Let's talk a little bit about those tours. How often do you guys are they scheduled tours? How does somebody get a hold of one of those?
Like I said, we're open on Thursday nights, so for sure any Thursday night, 4 to 8, you can come get a tour. Other than that, like private tours and stuff, if I'm around, if you stop by, I might be working. I hope I'll be working. I might be busy brewing beer. I might be a little busy, but I could definitely show you around. So
in addition to the cruising events going on, do you have any other events planned this summer we should be aware of?
There's Buffalo Days. I'm not exactly sure on the date yet. I'm
Okay.
still sort of new to Laverne area and all the events that happen there. But other than that, not right now.
So I've got a couple more questions here. I'm actually going to open the floor up for some questions as well. I like to ask people, if you're not drinking your own beers, what do you drink? What do you like? What's the? I think that they sometimes ask, what's on your iPod right now? What's in your beer cellar right now?
Oh, what's my beer cellar? I have a 5-year vertical of old stock that I'm waiting to try with some people. I love drinking New Glarus beers. It's one of my favorite breweries. Love drinking Bank beers. I love his beers. A lot of local stuff, home brews. I have some kind of funky Brett beers that I have in my cooler or in my fridge too that I'm waiting to try. And as the weather warms up, I've been craving beer in a can more and more every day.
Brant and I called it BBB, beer by volume, and there is a certain place for that, especially when the weather warms up. It gets nice and hot. And to be fair, that Kolsch, it goes excellent with those outdoor and yard activities. Very good beer. The one question I always try to leave everybody with, or give them a chance to answer if you're a follower of these series, is for the aspiring brewers that are watching online, or the people that are going to pick this up later on YouTube. What words of advice would you give them? What what would you tell them if they say, I want to go pro, or I want to work in a tap room? What do you tell them to as they take the next step?
Read as much published information as you can find. I've read a lot of homebrew forums and stuff, and not that there's not good information out there, but when it's published, it's reviewed by many professionals, and that's the information you really home. You really gotta weed through the homebrew information to really find the good stuff. So don't take any of that to heart. Find journals, articles, books, magazines that are professionally published, and that's the stuff you want to learn from.
A lot of hearsay out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
A lot of opinions that aren't true. So.
Well, in my opinion, these are all very well done, very good beers. We wish you guys the best of luck. Glad to have you guys on tap here. You guys stop down anytime. If we've got them on tap, ask for a Take 16 beer. We'll have them at least around for a little while and as often as we can get them. Big thank you much to Luke, and I tell you brought your family up. Brand new little one.
Yeah.
As
5
well,
weeks old.
5 weeks old. Congratulations. Thanks for coming out, buddy. We appreciate it. We're probably going to turn the cameras off. It just allows us to drink more beer. So tune in next week, guys, and thanks to Take 16, and thanks to Luke for driving up.
You bet. Thank you.